Welcome to Legacy Engineered, the show where smart structure meets lasting success. Join Scott Arden, Chairman and CEO of Controllers Limited, as he sits down with business leaders, top entrepreneurs, and experts to uncover the strategies, stories, and structures that build lasting legacies. And now, here's your host, Scott Arden.
Welcome back to Legacy Engineer, the podcast where strategy, structure, and foresight come together to build lasting legacies. I'm your host, Scott Arden. Today, I'm honored to welcome Tricia Benn, CEO of the C-Suite Network, the world's most trusted network of C-level executives. Tricia is a dynamic leader, connector, and champion for CEOs who understand that success isn't just about growth. It's about impact, influence, and intentional leadership. Under Tricia's leadership, C-Suite Network has become a global community where top executives collaborate, share insight, and elevate one another, building businesses that are not only profitable, but purposeful. Today, we'll explore leadership at the highest level, navigating complexity in today's business climate, and what it truly means to build legacy that outlives the title. Tricia, welcome to Legacy Engineered.
Scott, I am so thrilled to be here on your podcast with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm thrilled that you're here.
Thank you. It's, having this kind of conversation and, when you do that intro, Scott, I'm just like, that's what it's all about. And that's how we met.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that's, we met through a good friend. He then said, I need to introduce you to Tricia. We met, there was that synergy, if you will, and ultimately coming into the Hero Club and also part of the founders of the Finance Council. So, we've known each other for quite a few years and have worked together. We do a lot of different events. So I appreciate you being here.
Same.
Awesome. So I want to ask you a couple questions. I guess I'll start with, as the CEO of the C-Suite Network, you work with high-level leaders every day. What separates truly great CEOs from those who simply hold the title?
Well, I love this question, Scott, because I think there are a lot of different ways of how we measure success. And so if we look at the great CEOs versus just having the title, I want to go in about a million different directions. One, success, that's a really important thing to focus on. What is success really? And I think that's a whole conversation in and of itself. And my podcast and TV show is dedicated to that conversation. And I'm very happy to go in that direction. There's also title. CEO, and you and I have had this conversation, and you kind of flush and giggle every time I share. Anybody can give themselves the title of CEO, right? But I'll take a DLS any day. And am I allowed to swear on your show, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember what a DLS is?
I don't. What is it?
Determined little shit.
I love it.
Yes. So beep if we have any censoring happening. But what that's really about is the CEO, whatever your title is, that's not what matters most in terms of what we're doing together. What matters most is that you're determined to deliver on a mission that matters, to be part of something that's bigger than just yourself.
Yep.
And then I would say, finally, with that kind of understanding, whatever the title is, and let's just say CEO for now, because the buck stops with the person who owns the business, runs the business, etc., ultimate decision maker or ultimate customer within the company, within the team. And to me, that is absolutely the understanding that we have this tremendous mission and we have an opportunity to create a mission that matters enough, that delivers enough to create real impact, real meaning, real purpose, real connection, real success for everyone we serve and serve with. And that kind of understanding, I think, really separates a CEO title from a great CEO building and scaling a business that's absolutely going to see success And regardless of how you define success, there will be success in learning.
Yes, yes. Well, and that's it. I know one of the questions you asked me, I think it was in your podcast, is
Mhm.
what does success look like to you, or what does it mean? And yeah, my response was, I think success is a moving target, right? Because once you achieve a certain level of success, it's like,
Mhm.
well, I don't want to just stop there. I want to now take it to the next level, right?
Yes.
So every person's vision of success is obviously a little bit different, but that's the way I see it. Is it's always a moving target. How do we've reached that milestone? How do we now improve? How do we expand? How do we help people in other directions, right? So, and that's why
I
we were go ahead.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yes, I was just going to say, whatever that X is of your definition of success, and it's a little bit of a stretch, but if I just said impact, right, one way or another, whatever that, how, again, you have to define impact. But if we said that, I love thinking about, the question of when is enough enough? Because that's the other side of that question, right? It's always next level, next level, next level. Then you get to the point of like, so when is enough enough? And I loved this answer. And actually, my business partner was the first person I ever heard say this is, how can it ever be enough if you're having positive impact?
Right,
And so, if you have that positive impact for one person when you're just starting your business, as you scale, why not 10? If you can get to 10, why not 100? And the fact of the matter is, if you're a scaling CEO and one of the ones we'll call great, you understand your team is so much larger than the full-time employees that you play.
right,
It's everyone who's aligned on your mission. And that's where the difference making isn't a, 1 + 1 = 2. That's where it gets exponential in terms
right.
of that success or impact or whatever it is specifically that your mission is driven to serve against.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. So here's another one. Why is peer-to-peer connection and trusted advisory so critical for today's executives, especially at the C-suite level?
I think there are two core, very practical things. One is we don't have a lot of time. So so time has been compressed for us.
Right,
Period. There's just no way to work around that. We don't get any more of it. It is the most costly asset we have, and we have to make decisions very quickly. You can't just say, I choose to push the pause button. You
yeah,
know, ABC Bank, thank you so much for your call. I'll push the pause button and I'll talk to you next week. That's just not the way it works, right? Or any other scenario. So part of the peer-to-peer piece of things is having trusted go-tos.
hmm,
Hey, I suddenly have an issue I never anticipated. I don't have go-to contacts, or I've worked with someone I'm really not okay with working with going forward, or I need an audit, I need a check, I need some grounding, I need some to help around this. You can't wait for that. So that peer-to-peer piece becomes really critical as the fast track of what you can trust and how you can move forward to other trusted people, that extension of trust. So that's one piece. And I think most of the time we get that. I mean, people come sometimes kind of forget and they're like, oh gosh, I got to invest in my networking again, right? In my network. Yeah, and that's critical.
consistent.
But the second piece that I think is really important and truly difficult to find, it's important, and this is something that I really value as something that we want to absolutely differentiate, that when you're in C-suite network, not only are you networking and connecting, but you're getting transparency to understand decision making
Yep.
and the likely impact. And this is absolutely critical. And I never hear this being talked about more generally. But but the fact of the matter is, someone standing on stage and telling you they're the latest greatest thing since sliced bread, they've got all the answers, and you just need to pay them X amount of money, and you will have the same success they have. in some way or another, they're lying to you. That is not actually true. And this is my argument for that. The truth is, they've done different things and they've met success. Now, there are a couple problems with that scenario I just suggested. One, frequently we have people standing on stage telling us what we should do to see success, and they don't actually do that. Their business model is actually convincing us from stage that we should buy their thing.
Yep.
So that's one problem. The second
Absolutely.
one, and this is the one I really want to get to, is when someone shares with you what's worked for them and why, and you know them and you're starting to understand what their business model is and so on, then you're actually learning something. Then you're learning why it will or why it won't work for you. And then you can
Yeah.
explore further from there. And this is the piece that I think is so often missing. The exact reason something, some solution, some approach, whatever it is, some scaling opportunity, whatever it is, the exact reason why it works for one person may be the exact reason it will not work for you or me, Scott. And
Right.
and if we can learn that from a peer that we trust, because they've been down that road and it worked for them, that's wonderful. But when they explain why it worked, we go, that's not going to work for me. That saves you and I time, money, resources, and other opportunities, opportunity costs. So I think those are the two things that are really, really critical about that trusted peer-to-peer connection and the opportunity of that time together.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, we see that all the time. I mean that I love what we're doing with, like I said, the Finance Council, because the beautiful thing is we all talk to one another, right? And we know those resources. They've been vetted out. They're not, because here's the thing is if I'm going to refer a client of mine to someone who is part of my resources, I want to ensure that they're being treated the exact same way, that they're getting the utmost level of of service, of the promises, all of that. And going to what you were saying is we see that all the time, right? You look at some of these people that are coming out, they're becoming more public figures, or they have been public figures, but they may
Mhm.
have started out in the health coaching space. And then all of a sudden they're an investment expert or they're a business expert, right?
Mhm.
And then you try and talk to them, and then it's like this person really doesn't know what they're talking about. They may have heard about it they once,
Yep.
but they're moving on to that next idea. So,
Mhm.
having those trusted advisors that have been in that space for quite some time, they've got that longevity, that history, that it's always it's always a beautiful thing to know, and a good feeling to know that you can refer your clients over to someone who is going to do right by them. So awesome.
Yes. Yes. And so just to take a second, I commend you. I am so thrilled that you were nominated, approved, and are stepping up and leading in our C-suite finance council. This is the kind of thing where that matters. You, along with the council board, created a pledge that says you will serve the best interests of any executive, any business leader that comes to the C-suite finance council. And that means they're not going to just get sold a bunch of stuff because somebody's cornered them or they trust somebody or whatever. They're actually going to have a whole group of different experts with totally different expertise say, we've looked at your scenario and we think this is where you need to start. And we're going to make sure you're situated, you're going to get to the right resources and access that you need to be able to be successful. And that kind of leadership, that kind of collaboration, I commend you. I commend every single person on the C-suite finance council, because that kind of collaboration and dedication to see others actually succeed with what's being delivered. I mean, I don't think it's going to shock anyone to know, if you look at your own experience, that doesn't happen very frequently.
That is
And
true.
yeah, so I'm, huge kudos, Scott.
Well, I
And,
appreciate that.
well, and then selfishly, I feel so honored that as the CEO of this enormous ecosystem that we've built, and platform and C-suite network, that I can say, I've got somewhere I can send you where this is the pledge. And if people don't live up to that, that's not where they will be.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I mean, look at how serious this is being taken in terms of the board approval, like nomination process, approval process, and what we all stand for together. I couldn't be more. I couldn't be more thrilled to stand in, put the stake in the ground with you that way.
Likewise. Likewise. Well, that's
Thank you,
yes.
Scott.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. So, business leaders face constant disruption, technology, economic shifts, and workforce changes, obviously.
Mhm.
What mindset or strategy do you see successful leaders consistently adopt?
Well, I have a confession. So disruption is one of my favorite words. I love it. And this is the kind of thing where, you go through your career and you get more and more acquainted, or you go through your life and you get more and more acquainted with who you are and where your superpowers are, and the fact that I mean, it was a real surprise to me that most people don't get excited about disruption, right? You
Right.
could use the word change, you know,
Change,
people.
pivot, but disrupt, yes.
Yeah, disrupt. That's like the extreme version of yes, the world is going to change. And most people, I just didn't realize it. It's like, wow, most people that doesn't make them happy. My gut reaction is, oh my goodness. To me, I guess the immediate thing is we get to reframe disruption into figuring out better ways of delivering better impact or more impact or bigger impact because we're mission driven to deliver real success. So
Absolutely.
to me, it's always been, if there's going to be a massive disruption, how am I going to take advantage of that? How am I going to create more opportunity, business models that will succeed through this disruption where others are going to struggle, where the traditional accepted nonsense, because we all know in every industry and sector, if you've been in the business long enough, you absolutely know where where all the things are that are on that range or on that spectrum from wrong to illegal that are accepted or not caught or whatever.
Right, right.
Happen. And so everything during disruption or causing disruption that upsets that creates financial opportunity. And
Absolutely.
that creates real opportunity to have impact and make a difference. And so first of all, I'd say, that reframing is really important and it's very exciting. And I will say there's also a little bit of that wisdom that comes along with riding through these massive disruptions where the world is going to, come to an end. And those of us that are a little longer in the tooth know, it's not likely.
Yeah.
This is gonna come to an end. And in terms of the crisis period, that really intense crisis period will be over at some point. Things will change. The thing you don't know while you're going through it is exact timing and exact
Right.
depth of the challenges that are created. So, going through the what was it, internet, just the internet bubble, that whole thing, then the 2007 2008 crisis, then COVID. If I just take those three as simple kind of touch points of my career,
Right.
um, going through those things, the only thing that was different, for example, during COVID, is everyone went through the same pain at the same time. And if you look at the others, mostly everyone went through those big crises at the same time as well. But those things do end up working their way through, and there are massive opportunities. Some of the biggest companies we have in the world were launched during one of those crises
Absolutely.
or the ones before. I mean, this is human history. This is human business history. Anyway, so I think great leaders in disruption absolutely stay steady in the calm and rely on where are the opportunities. And
Yeah.
I will say personally, when we went into COVID, I shared very publicly to support our business leaders across the whole of the C-suite ecosystem, but also internally. We are building all kinds of businesses in C-suite, and we're partnered and supporting all kinds of business leaders. You mentioned the C-suite Finance Council. We have so many other, different businesses and partners and so on. The model that I used or made up to be able to share my thinking around this is, and I have my hands going all over the place, and I know for people listening that's going to be a challenge, but I had my right hand pushing up and my left hand filling in, sort of touching the right hand as it was going up. And the reason I was doing it is I was saying, okay, there is no option right now. Sitting still is dying, and that's failure. But
Right.
right now, that is the only failure. So don't sit down or fall down and stay there. Okay, that's the only failure, first of all. Secondly, we need to keep innovating because we got to go all the way up. There's no like staying where we are. There is no staying where we are. So we got to be innovating, innovating, innovating. And that's the right hand constantly pushing up. And then whatever works, awesome. We operationalize. And that's where the left hand comes in. Something
Yep.
works, we operationalize it with the operations team, right? Whatever doesn't work, we just drop it. It's not that it is a failure. This is the biggest misconception in business and in team success and individual success. What doesn't work is not a failure. It is learning. You're going to come back to that at some point. That's going to be useful information to have. Do not sit on it. Do not die with it. Just keep innovating. Drop quickly what doesn't work. Move on to the next thing. What works, hold,
Right.
and keep going.
Right.
So anyway, so what are those kind of frameworks that help a CEO see their people through to understand there is so much opportunity in the disruption to create what we really want to see? And if we can create a business model that supports that, we win. And the thing is, the old or the biggest player, whatever that competitive thing is, doesn't win in disruption.
Right. Right.
It's a fair game. And this is what's missed in the fear of disruption. The old doesn't win. The biggest doesn't win. It is a fair game. So go for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that we saw, during the pandemic was, obviously we couldn't go out, we couldn't do any live events anymore, right? So how do we stay in front of individuals? And that became we all looking like the Brady Bunch, right, in the
Yep.
Zoom meetings. And and then it was well, I've been furloughed. I've lost my job. My company just completely went out of business. And so,
Hmm.
through those times, really that's where, I saw the change, right? A lot of people were employees and then, they're laid off. And so then they get into their creative space and say, how can I make money? I need to form a business, but I need to be educated. I need to be have some guidance through that, right? And
Yes.
so, that's where we saw that opportunity of being able to help people really structure their business, get it off the ground, get that idea in motion, making sure that it's protected and just running with it. You go back to like I said, a lot of people were employees, right? And now I
Yep.
think that created more entrepreneurs in that space because it's like, well, if I design something myself
Hmm.
and we go through the same scenario, I don't have the potential of now losing my position, right? So,
Exactly. I don't get voted off the island. Exactly.
exactly,
Uh-huh.
exactly. So,
Well, I love that about how you and your team work, Scott. It's a consultative process, right? So if I want to be able to accomplish this, what do I need to do to set up for success? And that's not going to be an area of expertise for an employee who's now looking at how do I build my own business,
right,
create my own mission, bring people into that. What does all of that look like? And how do I set up for the financial success I want to be able to have to deliver on that mission? And that's where the pieces come together. And team culture also, like the people act like if you talk about team culture, this is this like soft fuzzy thing, and then like real numbers are over here. They're absolutely entirely connected. And
hmm
for me, it's like, you need to focus on this, and then how does it connect in? Never, ever get away from your financials. Because if you can create financial success, you have the financial stability to do what you want to be able to do and move things forward and see others succeeding with your success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and that transitions kind of right into my next question is how do you encourage executives to think beyond revenue and focus on long-term impact, culture, as you just mentioned,
Mhm.
and responsibility?
You know, I think probably the biggest thing here, and this is so important to me, um, if you're a business leader, whatever size, I came from three enterprise-sized organizations before coming into C-suite, becoming an owner in the business, and various other things that I have ownership in, and that I sit on boards of, and and supporting and partnering in various ways with business leaders. Um, the importance of choosing a mission that matters is so critical, and
Hmm.
it's so funny that that connection isn't understood as much as I think it should be or could be,
Right.
or it's almost like you would apologize that you have something bigger you want to accomplish with your business. And so, and it was really, really fun. We have a C-suite not-for-profit council, the C-suite, Prosperity Council, and Nonprofit Prosperity Council. There we go, proper name, Tricia. And Hugh Ballou is extraordinary, and he's the chair. And he and I had back and forth. And we would play with this constantly because he'd say, well, I'm working with not-for-profit leaders. They're on important missions to have impact in their communities. And I'd say, yes, and every single member of C-suite has the same commitment, or they really don't belong here.
Right.
like,
Right.
like we don't
Well,
serve people who don't understand the responsibility that we all own as business leaders, which is to see everyone else succeed with our success. And
right.
so I think the mission is so important. And again, Scott, if I'm calling you out, you've taken on Hero Club leadership. And that is fast scaling CEOs who've taken a pledge, lead with integrity, transparency, give back to our community, share in our success. These are the things that matter. These are the things that differentiate the kinds of decisions we're going to be making, how we make, like the factors that we take into consideration as we're making those decisions, et cetera. So I think helping CEOs not feel apologetic for being concerned and connected to those things, and
Right.
also supporting that vehicle of creating a mission that matters, understanding how much power, influence, and opportunity there is to have that mission create real success, real impact in so many ways, with those we serve with and those we serve, in terms of the communities, et cetera, that serve us. So I think that's a really big piece of it. I think also the extension of that team, and how we look at who is on team, because we have a lot more resources around us than I think frequently we understand.
Right.
So I think in terms of our cultures, the team is much, much bigger. Look, for me, I consider my team to be everyone that is in any way engaged in C-suite network, because we all understand the value of us coming together and saying these things matter, and we're going to create and support real success. And people that don't respect that do not operate here. They will not operate here.
Absolutely.
And that matters, so I think those things are critical. I personally am very dedicated to the notion of being useful. I like a culture, check the ego at the door, so for me, frequently when I'm speaking or when I'm doing an interview like this, they'll say, listen, just to level set, if you don't know me, I grew up on a farm. And if there's anything in growing up on a farm, you're either useful or you're dead. That's it.
I heard you say
So
that once before.
yes. So I choose to be useful. And I'd like for everybody to feel very, very useful. That is a place of honor. That is the highest value when life depends on it. So, check all the other noise and nonsense at the side. Let's be useful and deliver on our mission and see real success.
There you go.
So
That's
those kinds of framings, Scott, every one of us has those stories, that ability to connect in terms of why it means something, what the mission is, and why it means something to us, and then we share it.
absolutely. Absolutely. I say that all the time. I've built a legacy for my son and my granddaughter, and
Mhm.
ultimately it's my passion to teach other people how to do the exact same thing. And it just makes me, working with them and having them with that aha moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow. Like I can actually do that, and there are strategies out there, and
Mhm.
so that makes it very fulfilling, kind of that warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing, hey, I helped someone, accomplish what their mission, their vision is. And so, and then, still being there to help provide the guidance behind it. So,
Yes. And what does that do in terms of inspiring them to do the things they need to do, and then also taking that into their lives and how they're inspiring others to do what they do as their expertise, or how they impact their communities.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. So, as a woman leading one of the most influential executive networks, what progress have you seen and what still needs to change in leadership at the top, do you think?
This is the biggest, toughest question, Scott. Um, I just shared my story about being useful, and it's such an interesting and challenging question. So you said as a woman, so that's me personally. So for me personally, I joke I grew up third generation crazy woman, and unfortunately for my children, I'm raising the fourth generation of crazy women. I don't know, but as third generation crazy woman, I literally didn't understand, and this is I'll share. I'm 54. I believe. I'm pretty sure I'm 54. Anyway, I'm 54. So let's say I'm 54 years old. And when I was a teenager, I honestly didn't understand that women weren't leading the world and their families. Like, I just didn't understand. I had
Hmm.
no reference point. My grandmother started her own business, had her own money, did her own thing. And to me was the light of my life. My mother, incredibly accomplished, and at 74 years old, she's just taken over the chair of her global association. Is
Oh,
in
wow.
her second career after retirement many years ago now. Um, so I just didn't have the reference point, and a few years ago, I was honored with becoming an honorary Texan, and it's a big deal. It's a big thing, and I had no idea this was going to happen. Senator Angela Paxton awarded me. It's like it's a very formal thing and a big deal. But I had no idea, and I was asked to go to Texas and speak on being a woman in business and my own personal journey and so on. And I teased that I was going to stand up on stage and say, some people have one body part, some people have the other body part. None of it has anything to do with how you're successful in business.
Right.
But but the fact of the matter is, obviously, and so for me, I don't think about it that way. But on the other hand, there are obvious challenges, and it's been extraordinary to go through the journey I've gone through with my personal background. And I literally took women's studies courses in university so I could understand what happened because I didn't get it. And I love my dad. My dad's incredible. This is no insult to my father in any way, or men in any way, shape, or form. I just didn't know things. So as we look at things now, there is a generation of women who were those first warriors to go through and carve the way. And I'll tell
Right.
you what, I'm grateful to them every day, and we all should be, because there's tremendous opportunity in the fact that we're bringing all kinds of diversity into decision making for our businesses. If we're not taking that into account, we are also not going to succeed. We need to have access to different communities, different thinking, different stages, different everything, and that's incredibly valuable. So those women, the stories I hear now of what they went through, and obviously I'm 54, I have a few of my own, but what they went through is normal. Oh my goodness, just unbelievably painful. The reason for their divorce, the reason for their children not being whatever, the reason for not getting promoted, even though they were doing 10 times more, la 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 la.
Right.
But they went through that and they have the experience and the knowledge and they've got models that we can feel out and test. So I guess where I'm landing on this is it's exciting where we are to be able to carve your own experience, your own businesses, and deliver what you want to be able to deliver. There's never been a more democratized time to start a business, build a business, see success. And for women specifically, and you can look at all kinds of underrepresented groups, but women is just easy. Then what you can say is that we are now at a time where there are all kinds of different models to test out and try. So what I always say if somebody asks me for counsel on, how did you travel a great deal and have children that are doing this and that? This is what I did. I would not recommend it as the answer for you, but I will transparently share this is what I did. This is how I think about it. Seems to be the result of it or what I'm looking for as a result. And I don't know, you can try it on. You can just think about it and it spurs on something else. You can try it on and then adjust it to whatever you want, or you can completely adopt it. It's totally up to you, but there are different models now, of different things and different ways to do things. And that certainly applies to men as well. It's exciting to see the different things that are happening. My husband was a stay-at-home dad for a few years. There's all kinds of different things now. There are lots of people doing they're building the life they want to build, and there are all kinds of different models to be able to try out, test out, outright refuse, or completely adopt, and then share that as well. So it comes back to your peer-to-peer point, Scott. It's like, great that you did that and that seemed to work for you, but I got this going on in my families and it's not going to work. Okay.
Right. How
You
does
know,
that apply?
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
That's great insight. That's great insight. Well, so when you look beyond your role as a CEO, what does legacy mean to you? And what legacy are you intentionally building through your work and through your leadership? And ultimately, what is the legacy you want to leave behind?
Well, this is I've been thinking about this one, Scott. You start to get a little bit further on, like you get I was just informed that, age spots aren't age spots, they're wisdom spots, and I think they're super attractive. So what I'm going to say is for me, legacy is it's not about look at me or here's my name or anything like that. For me, it's really about what impact can I have? How can I support the disruption that sees great people win? People who care about others, that want to see success, that want their businesses to actually deliver a sustainable model of success for their communities and for the betterment of all of us. Because we all know if people are making money and they feel connected to mission, purpose, and people that matter to them, that's the meaning of life. That's what we all want for everybody, right?
Right.
All of us want that for ourselves, our families, and the generations that follow. So for me, it's that impact, and this is why the mission of C-Suite Network. I was actually the very first paying sponsor of C-Suite Network. So I put my
Okay.
money where my mouth was. I came on board. I believed in the mission, and I ended up coming on board. And this is why I am so connected to the mission of C-Suite Network, is seeing great leaders accelerated in their success, avoiding those potholes along the way, and able to deliver that impact. So for me, my legacy from that perspective is really truly about seeing great leaders have that impact. For me, on the personal side of things, I am really thoughtful to how, and this ties directly to what I just said about C-suite. I want my daughters and my nieces and nephews and anybody that, I'm connected with on the personal side of my life. I want them to understand the games.
Mm,
If I could say my legacy I want to leave them is understanding how much power they have, how much opportunity they have, how much they can trust their gut to do the right thing and create models that deliver success, and I think business models, they may have different things they want to do. So, but regardless, I don't, you launch a not-for-profit, you have to have a sustainable business model.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I want to be able to deliver that, and I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a technical definition of legacy, but that's what I want to do. I was asked by a young man who's done incredible things in building business. He's only 26 years old, and he's doing, as I said, incredible things. And he said, "What's your biggest failure?" And I said, "It doesn't matter." And I resisted swearing. Scott, you'll be very proud of me. It really doesn't matter. What
Right.
matters is understanding the games to move things forward faster through the noise of all the games and take advantage of the things that help accelerate the success and impact you want to be able to have. So that piece, that sort of black box that you gain with the wisdom of time and experience, that's what I want to be able to bring forward and share.
I love it. I love it. I, well, awesome. Well, Tricia, I want to thank you for joining us on Legacy Engineered. Your insights on leadership, connection, and intentional growth are a powerful reminder that legacy isn't built by accident. It's engineered through the decisions we make today. To our listeners, if this conversation sparks something for you and you're ready to take the next step towards protecting or building your structure, your business strategically, and designing a lasting legacy, we invite you to schedule a complimentary consultation with our team. Visit www.controllersltd.com to book your session and start building with intention. Until next time, stay strategic, stay protected, and keep engineering your legacy. Thanks, Trish.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Engineered. For more episodes and to connect with Scott and the team at Controllers Limited, visit controllersltd.com. You can also follow Scott on Instagram and LinkedIn and start building your legacy with confidence today.